I love horror games. I've played a lot, including a lot of indie games. Horror is a very polarizing genre. I guess every genre is like that. You have great contributions and piles of shit. But I feel like it sticks out more with horror movies, to me for some reason. You have a genre with great Hollywood-level horror movies like The Exorcist, legendary B-movies like The Evil Dead, so bad they're good movies like Birdemic, and crappy Hollywood movies like A Haunting in Connecticut, all sharing the same space. Video games are no different. You have great AAA games like Dead Space, amazing indie games like Amnesia, so bad they're good games like Deadly Premonition, and then shit like The Slaughtering Grounds. Some of my absolute favorite horror games are indies, like the Amnesia franchise or Penumbra series, the Outlast games, and Anna. Anna even uses the Unity engine. The Unity engine is a game engine that has become infamous for allowing indie game devs to push out shovelware. The majority of shitty horror games that come out use Unity and Unity assets as their base engine. I know it's just a game engine, and that there are good games made with it, but when I see that Unity title screen pop up, I get Nom flashbacks. Let's take a look at some indie horror games that make the shit list. Witch is an indie horror game made by Mike and L. It uses the Dark Basic professional game engine, so it's one of the few on the list that's not actually using Unity assets. In all honesty, I don't dislike this game. There just isn't enough to it. The graphical aesthetic is pretty cool, though it makes seeing things difficult at times, but it's really unique and you don't see many games look like this. A negative though, the movement and looking controls are very floaty. There is no story presented. You start off the game looking at a window and the game just leaves you to look around. It gives you slight hints on walls if you're looking at them. Things like controls and general ideas like get keys to open doors are conveyed. There's also this weird person key door equation thing on the wall as well. Anyway, as you find keys, you can open doors. When you open door 2, you are greeted by a ghost. The ghost is of a woman with no head and no heart gripping a large kitchen knife. It points to the wall, and you have to either find the ghost's head or its heart. The key to the door with the wall is easiest to find. Her head is in the toilet. Great. So you go back to the exit room, she's fumbling with the keys, she then looks at the equation, and it all makes sense. Only one person can use the key to leave, and there are 2 of you. So she looks at you, looks at her knife, and starts stabbing the living crap out of you. You die, and she leaves. But there is another ending if you choose to go with the heart. The key to the heart is in the same room as the key to the head, but by the door. When she gets her heart, she will commit seppuku instead of murdering you, allowing you to leave. Some people interpret this game as an abusive relationship sort of thing. If she gets her head, she fends for herself, leaving you so that she can escape. But if she has her heart, she has compassion and is therefore willing to sacrifice herself to see you go. Like I said, the game isn't horrible. I just don't find the game particularly scary. The scariest thing is that the ghost will teleport behind you when you aren't looking at her. So sometimes you'll turn around and get a face full of ghost crotch or ghost boob. But the game has a very interesting look to it, and I'd like to see it expound upon. Maybe with a real story and some varied environments and advanced gameplay, I could see it becoming something really cool. Evil. This game, on the other hand, just sucks. The footage is ripped from my old YouTube channel, so that's why there's a big box in the lower left screen. It starts with you getting out of bed, and basically you just walk on a linear path while weird stuff happens around you. Everything is dark, and the walls have red, white, black lines. There are floating heads, and heads is the backdrop, and the screen gets all staticky. There are floating roads. The floating roads are the worst parts. The walking mechanic is so slow and unintuitive. I fell way too many times trying to get across those damn roads. There are plenty of jump scares presented with loud noises and stupid-looking balloon-headed monsters. Really, the only scary part of the game comes from a room in which there are a bunch of TVs that are showing Shay St. John videos. Shay St. John is a video creator who makes very creepy-looking and disturbing doll videos doing weird and disturbing things. Those videos make me very uncomfortable. Inside. This isn't the newly released spiritual successor to Limbo, which I've heard is rather good. This is an abomination of hard drive space. This one shows that you're playing a Unity game, damn it. Right away, you're greeted with the floating text saying you'll never make it out alive. This is off to a great start. The game should be called Walk Around Aimlessly in the Dark for an Hour before you realize there is a flashlight button that the game doesn't tell you about. The This game doesn't tell you anything. There's no story, no reason for you to be in the house, no direction for the game, no story for the monsters. You're just walking around in a dark house. This, my friends, is how not to do scary. Simply walking around in the dark with stupid jump scares is not scary. You need atmosphere, tension, danger. Like the monsters and things that pop out at you don't even chase you or hurt you. They just pop up and leave. The red mannequins could be cool with a little more support. I mean, Condemn pulled off the mannequin thing efficiently. Eventually you realize that you can look in boxes, and once you find a key in a box, it tells you to open a door on the roof. So once you make your way up there, and what do you know, you're back at the start, forced to repeat the cycle over and over again until you kill yourself out of boredom. One Late Night. This is another game that has a really good idea that just wasn't executed correctly. The plot is that you are staying late at work. Everyone else has left and creepy things begin to happen. You find occult materials in a coworker's office, and you find the ghost of someone's grandmother haunting the place. The game is incredibly basic and falls into the trap of being too vague, like the other games on this video. You don't know where you're going, so you basically wander around and click on everything for an hour. What you really need to do is look at your computer, walk around and check all the rooms in the area. Go back to your office and look at your computer again, then go to the bathroom, find a key in the toilet, go to your coworker's office, look around in his room, go back and look for batteries, collect batteries, go back to your coworker's office, find a key, open the door to leave, kill the ghost with your flashlight, and get out. The idea of staying late at work and your office turning out to be haunted is actually a really cool idea for a game. White Day does something similar in that the school is haunted and kids sneak back in after hours. This game just doesn't execute it well, and with a minimal story and wonky gameplay, it just isn't that good. Amok. I actually paid $1 for this game, and I actually sent a request to Steam to have the game refunded. I wanted that $1 back, but they didn't refund it for me, and now I'm stuck with this pile of shit. The description on Steam reads, "Protagonist of the game is investigating the disappearance of people. The investigation leads him into an old house, and then it becomes a party to the strange and dangerous events." They didn't even bother to give the character a name. The trailer makes it look decent. It looks like it has atmosphere. It looks like there's a combat system, that it has a narrative that will provide the player with a reason to keep going through the horrors that the game holds. But the only horrors this game holds is how boring and uninspiring this game is. Graphics are bland, gameplay is slow and wonky, assets are all over the place. You go from a mansion to a frozen tundra to an underground military base to a boat to a goddamn mountain to another military base, I'm assuming. Because I died 4 times trying to get up that mountain because of some stupid-ass freezing mechanic the game throws in for no reason. After 4 times of mindlessly traveling up this mountain only to freeze my ass off, I decided to say screw it and ask for my refund. There's no story, there's a giant orb that teleports you around and is unexplained, you don't know where to go, and there is no reason to carry on. Also, look at this combat. So engaging, so intuitive, and the monsters look stock too. I still want my refund. Slender. Pretty much everyone knows about this game. Slender, the 8 Pages, is a game based on the Slender creepypastas. Creepypastas are basically online scary stories. Slender tells the tale of Slender Man, an interdimensional being depicted as a tall man in a black suit, a white, expressionless face, and black tentacles shooting out of his body. He is able to phase between dimensions, allowing him to teleport through our world as well as distort the reality around us. If you look at him for too long, you die. He is known for stalking, kidnapping, and killing people, especially children. Slender Man is by far the most popular of the creepypastas, becoming a cultural icon of his own. I mean, I remember when Slender became popular like 4 or 5 years ago. I remember living in my college dorm, hearing my dorm mates screaming down the hall as they played this game. I remember sitting there with a grumpy face because I was currently playing through The Dark Descent and couldn't believe that people found Slender scary. But I digress. Slender has inspired multiple games, beginning with the 8 Pages as well as many YouTube channels such as Marble Hornets, which expand upon the lore. Slender Man was even the inspiration behind the Endermen from Minecraft. I actually think Slender Man is a cool and interesting character, and that, with the right writing and medium, he could have joined the ranks of someone like Pinhead or Beghoul as a modern horror icon. Unfortunately, he's trapped in crappy games and edgy teen scary stories. The 8 Pages is a really basic game. You walk around the woods collecting 8 pieces of paper in randomized locations. Once you collect a piece of paper, Slender Man spawns in the woods and begins hunting you down. As you collect more pages, his behavior gets more aggressive as he stalks you, teleporting ever closer until he gets you. The biggest downside to the game is that it's boring and relies on jump scares. Just walking around the woods gets really old really quick. And after Slender Man suddenly surprises you for the first time, the shock of running into him again wears off. There's a game released called Haunt, which is basically an updated version of the 8 Pages. The graphics were much better and it tried adding some backstory to the game, but in the end it suffered from the same gameplay flaws. There's also a game called Slender the Arrival, which is essentially the definitive Slender Man game. It adds a full story, multiple levels, each with a different goal and gameplay mechanic, new characters, such as conduits, which do Slender Man's bidding and will basically knife you to death, and an ending which is pretty messed up as well. It's not an amazing game, but it's definitely a much better game and a more complete game than the 8 Pages or any of the other Slender sequels. Especially if you're a fan of the characters and the mythos, you should check this game out. Slender the Arrival is also available on console, so if you want it on PS3, PS4, 360, or Xbox One, you can play it on there. Five Nights at Freddy's. Alright, here we go. Some of you are going to get mad, but I hate this game. I have no idea how this game became a pop culture phenomenon. It's a flaming bag of dog shit, but I guess someone liked the smell because it spawned 5 sequels. 6 games total, 4 of them are the exact same game reskinned. What the hell, people? Anyway, the story is that you're a security guy working at a pizza joint, and you're being stalked by a Rock-afire Explosion. Yeah, you remember Rock-afire Explosion. You're told the animatronic animals at the pizza place need to move around at night so their circuits don't fry. You're told that everything should be fine, but the robotic animals will think the guard is a robot without the animal costume and will shove him into an animal suit. But since the suit is filled with wires and electronics, it would kill and dismember the guard, so he has to keep a lookout for the robots so they don't get the drop on him and murder him. It's revealed that the robots are actually possessed by the ghosts of dead kids who were murdered by someone called the Purple Man. I don't know, it's weird. The gameplay sucks though, if you can call it gameplay. You click through cameras, doors, and lights to monitor the whereabouts of the robotic animals. You have to do it sparingly because if you run out of power, you're sitting in the dark and you're bait for the robots. It's so lame, it's boring, it's not scary, you know the robots are coming, and of course, it's got stupid, cheap jump scares. I've been talking a lot about why these games are bad, but what makes a good horror game good? Cheap jump scares and dark screens aren't enough to elicit terror. Sure, you can startle someone and probably get a good reaction, but it's the literal equivalent of those mazes that you used to show your sister, where the girl from The Exorcist's face pops up. To make a good horror game, you have to get a mixture of atmosphere, story, urgency, danger, and helplessness. You should feel scared about turning a corner because you don't know what's going to happen, not because you're anticipating a sudden jump. Games like Resident Evil and Dead Space do a good job of conveying creepy atmosphere, great storytelling, urgency, and danger. You feel pressed to kill a zombie before it gets you. You're forced to travel down dark and narrow hallways. You have to conserve ammo so that you don't run out when you run into a big foe. Games like Outlast and Amnesia turn it up a notch because you can't kill your enemies. All you can do is run and hide and hope that they don't find you. Speaking of truly scary games, if you haven't checked it out yet, go watch Dennis's Let's Play of the Outlast 2 demo. I'll link it for you. Go watch it now. Thanks for watching, everyone.